Jessica O'Donnell is an actress, screenwriter, stand-up comedian, and story analyst who brings her hometown sensibility to every project. From finance and banking to lights, camera, and action, Jessica has transformed her career into one driven by creativity, storytelling, and grit. She helps producers find the right scripts while crafting stories that spotlight overlooked places like her hometown of Niagara Falls. Today, we dive into her journey from the corporate world to entertainment and the lessons she's learned along the way. So, welcome.
Thank you.
You're very
Thanks for
welcome.
having me.
So, I'd like to start to understand a little bit. Most people have emotional ties to where they were brought up and where they were raised. And I have family in upstate New York. Saranac Lake was a big destination for my family, Geneva, Messina, and I know Niagara's even further up there. And it's very beautiful, and like you've said, it's a little bit forgotten. Was your project, False Candy, was that an homage to your hometown?
Yes, definitely. And let me set the record straight that Niagara Falls, New York is in Western New York. And most people refer to everything outside of New York City as upstate, but
Okay.
we're definitely Western New York and bordering Canada,
Right, right.
Ontario.
The fate of upstate and Western New York were sort of tied together when fortunes changed a little bit, and it remained beautiful, but there was dynamics that shifted. So what made you wanna take on a project to tell the beauty and the poetry and the synergies of the folks you knew growing up? What was it about it?
Honestly, when the pandemic hit and I had already gotten involved in acting and we couldn't do anything, I finally got an opportunity to write the screenplay that I always wanted to write. And I always wanted to write a story about Niagara Falls, New York. Always felt that it was very neglected in storytelling and in movies. I mean, there was Niagara, what is it, Niagara, Marilyn Monroe
Right.
way back when. And kind of felt like I could do better than I love John Candy, but I think I could do better than Canadian bacon. Yeah, and just the gritty backdrop of Niagara Falls is very much kind of a lot about the stories that I'm drawn to with the realistic, grounded themes.
Mhm.
It's usually about redemption or forgiveness
Right.
or finding yourself again.
Right. Love it. I love it. And this is interesting because you're also a stand-up comedian. So you have a passion for the comical as well as the dramatic.
That's true.
That's pretty versatile, I think. I would like to understand now, your background was in finance and higher education. So when I say your
Mhm.
background, I guess that's your professional background, of course.
Yes.
Did that play a part in how you approach theater in general, whether it's screenwriting or acting or performance?
I think that my prior career paths in finance and higher education give me the experience to kind of tackle different roles, particularly if it's portraying a white collar professional. There's definitely a lot of value in being able to play the part, look the part of somebody who's sitting at a desk, typing, talking on the phone, talking to colleagues. There's so many small roles, especially in TV co-star roles, that are very good for moving the story along. They have their own place, and it's definitely good for building your credits in your acting reel as well.
It's interesting because I started studying in New York City about 4 years ago, and I find it sense that I was, in fact, the oldest student in every class I was in.
Sitting here for the most
Right.
part.
Which is fine, I played a lot of dads, but I did see that the scenes that we played that were about emotionally challenging relationships or really life-altering, traumatic experiences were a little bit more challenging for the young people because they just hadn't lived through it yet. So
That's true.
right? And I mean, with no disrespect to the very talented students I perform with,
Mhm.
but they just didn't have the reference. So I totally understand the fact that if you're a professional and then you're playing one of the many co-starring opportunities that can avail yourself, whether it's a hospital
Mhm.
or it's a EMT or it's a law or a crime, there are a lot of those kinds of roles available, and they totally build up your portfolio and your reels for you to be considered for other roles. So
Yes.
I want to understand when you say you do consulting for production companies. So that plays into your storytelling and screenwriting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that's a skill I also picked up during the pandemic when we could do nothing else. I
Right.
I kind of returned to reading and writing
Hmm.
when we couldn't be on set. and be with other people. I don't know if you've ever heard of a story analyst, but they will generally work with production companies, independent producers, or studios, and you'll read scripts or books or even manuscripts, and then kind of decide if it should be a candidate to be adapted to screenplay.
Hmm. It's not just the storyline, I would imagine. It's the characters, it's the
Right.
environment. And so,
Yes.
do you have like one or two like rules of thumb you could share about things that you look for or things that you try to avoid that says, I don't think this is going to make the cut as interesting of a story as it is?
Well, I think that one thing they're always looking for is this project commercial? Does it have appeal? Is it worth spending a high budget on? Does it have appeal to only a small group of people or does it have universal appeal? Also, if I read a book, something might be feasible on the page, but is it producible? Can it be brought to life
Right,
on screen?
right.
And how expensive will be? And if it's too expensive, you can always make it an animation.
Good thing Harry Potter didn't go that route, but that's exactly so because you could have wonderful creative ideas. There's a lot of talent out there, but funding is always a challenge, no matter where you are on the production run, and a young filmmaker or even, one of the top guys in Hollywood. So you're doing a lot. Do you still work 9 to 5 doing your professional gig?
I've transitioned out of that quite a few years ago, so it's
Mhm.
been very gradual. Right now, I spend the time acting, writing, stand-up comedy, writing, doing the story analyst freelance work on
Right.
the side. I kinda do a lot of different things, but that's honestly the person I was always meant to be anyway.
Great, you found it.
Yeah, it took a
Congratulations.
while.
Well, that's all right. Better late than never, but a lot of people never find. I mean, you didn't just have to find a niche, you had to find multiple niches that all came together. So congratulations. That's excellent.
The funny thing is, and once it started, it just kinda started to snowball.
Mhm. Obviously, you're good at what you do. I think that's the summation I would give it. So I love to hear because I'm fascinated. I stopped listening to news for reasons that we're not going to get into in this podcast. I just am no longer interested in driving. I'm in the car a
Fair
lot
enough.
listening to news. So I listen to a lot of comedy. I've been dissecting it, like what makes this comedian good and appealing and what's this comedian's recipe or formula. Do you tell story? Are there reoccurring characters in your stand-up routine? Or are you a one-liner? What's your
Oh.
relationship with the audience there?
Well, I tend to be more of a storyteller more than a one-liner type of comedian like a Stephen Wright.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's not even a full sentence.
I admire people who can do that. I'm more of a person who tells stories, and if I do say something funny at home, or if I crack a joke and I think would be good material, I'll write it down because I'm constantly working the material in stand-up mics locally. And reoccurring characters that show up, I'm always making jokes about my husband, and thankfully, he's usually not in the audience. There's always a lot of material for to talk about the people that you live with.
Right, right.
Honestly, I think that a great thing to fall back on is, make fun of yourself because then people can't laugh at you then. They can hopefully laugh with you.
And a lot of people out there have spouses, so they can understand the fine line between love and frustration you go through a million times a day. As you say, I think a lot of people can appreciate a little humility goes a long way to make the audience kind of love you a little bit here. I'm very impressed with comedians. I mean, I like to think I'm a funny person, but I don't have that writing skill. So your stand-up comedian gigs, are they, my
Mhm.
understanding is they're oftentimes about 20 minutes?
I haven't quite gotten to the 20-minute mark
Okay,
yet. That's one of the things on my list is
right.
you have to always try to build on your set. You
Yeah,
start with your 5, go to your 10, go to your
right.
20, and so on.
Okay, that my misunderstanding. So were you really nervous the first time you did it, or did it just take to it like a duck to water, or how'd that go?
The first time I did it was a pretty low stakes situation, so that made it a little bit easier. I don't get nervous anymore. I tend to just be hard on myself,
Mhm.
and it's still a riddle to me, like whether what I'm saying is landing. I think the material is definitely there, but it's like kind of this dance between your delivery
Right.
and sounding like you're reciting something from memory. So I still have some things I'm working out.
Mhm. Right. They say timing, 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 right? So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's where you stop, where you breathe, where you pause, how you accentuate. So, have you noticed any similarities or parallels between your stage comedian persona or challenges and your script analysis responsibilities?
Well, that's interesting that you asked that. I don't know if I would say parallels so much. I think that the two activities kind of require different sides of the brain.
Right.
Stand-up comedy, like I was saying, it's like you have to think on your feet. If I'm doing script analysis, it tends to be something that I can take a little bit more time with, within deadlines. There's a lot more overthinking that I can do there that I
Mhm.
can't do on the stage.
Right. And like you said, I mean, when you're doing the analysis, it's how many cast members, where are the sets, what are the costumes, how are we going to fill theaters on a nightly basis? And the comedy is in the here and the now and the you and the people in the audience, much more immediate. So, what do people think in your family and your friends that you are this corporate, professional lady sitting at a desk doing your professional job? And the pandemic came and that shook things up for sure a little bit. But the next thing they know, you're acting, you're a standing up comedian, your husband's taking hits on stage. What do the people around you think? Are they like, wow, you have so blossomed and you found your niche where you should be, or this is fun, you're great, but it's time to get back to the real world?
Well, I don't know. I hope they think that, this new version of me is fun, but honestly, I think a lot of them aren't really that surprised. I
Hmm.
think that I spent a lot of my time growing up like probably irritating
Yeah.
people anyway,
Uh,
and now it's like I might as well put it in action.
did you do any theater when you were growing up? I mean,
I did a little bit in high school. I was always ended up on the chorus and the musical.
right.
But yeah, it was always there. Some dance lessons, some ballet when I was a kid, and some theater in high school. And I think the message always was like, well, you really got to get a real job.
Right.
And it's something to fall back on. So I thought, okay, I won't major in theater. Truthfully, a lot of them will say you don't really need to anyway.
Right. Experience.
But
Just go
yeah,
and just do it. One of the things they teach us at my school is if you're working, great. And if you're not working, you should be studying. So you should never stop studying whenever you can get it in between a job. So being active is better than being sedentary. I wanted to know a little bit more about False Candy also. It got some terrific recognition, I see.
I did submit it to some screenplay contests and
Hmm.
it placed in a couple areas. It's gotten a little bit of interest. These days, writing a spec screenplay doesn't have quite the, get rich quick it did in the 90s, for instance. It's more like I have this screenplay in me. I need to get it out. I did actually write a spin-off pilot from that screenplay as well. And, what I could end up doing with it is I could probably pull some scenes from it and film it anyway,
Hmm.
use that as professional reel.
Right. Were you envisioning it as a feature or as a streaming, production with episodes? What were your aspirations for it?
Well, False Candy is a feature and it has a spin-off pilot, which would be a series.
Hmm.
So these things are kind of rewritten, and they sit there. It's just part of my portfolio, I
Right.
guess, at this point.
Right, right. So it said, I don't want to misquote it, but the
Mhm.
producers talked about it. It was not female oriented, but it was from a woman's perspective. Is this a story about women and women's strength and women's relationship? Is there a women's component to False Candy?
Well, False Candy has a female lead character,
Hmm.
and I have to say, in learning to write a screenplay and this being my attempt, I think I based her much on myself.
Right, right,
So it's sort of like a story, a little bit about myself and about, it is really a story about starting over and having a next act.
right, right. Excellent. Good for you. Art imitating life, right?
Art imitating life.
Right, that's
Indeed.
terrific. If you were to get some notice, if someone has found your script and said, "This is just so brilliant, I have to make this
Mhm.
into a feature," and you have this spin-off, but are there other genres that you would wanna dabble into, or are you really committed to these personal stories that, have the viewers have a very personal relationship with, and it's an emotional relationship?
Well, I'm definitely open. That's kind of one of my downfalls is having too much interest in too many areas. Yeah, I think it'd be great to write comedy as well, which I do for stand up.
How long did it take you to write the feature before you said, "I'm putting the staples in, it's done"?
I think I did the right thing by kind of doing all my research beforehand. And I think it took about 3 months to write the
Wow,
first draft.
wow. Did you write every day?
I wrote for a few minutes every day.
Right.
And that's really all you have to do.
Right. Right.
'Cause a few minutes, you sit down, and you're like, "I'm gonna write for a few minutes," and it turns into, like, an hour.
Right. Excellent.
It's like working out.
Yeah, I mean, you get your mojo and you get your momentum, and then this scene, your juices are flowing and characters are interacting, and it's just the way you had hoped it would be. And then you put it down, you come back and you can read it the next day and figure out where you're going to go. So let's a little bit about your acting. I don't want to focus just on the screenwriting because I'm fascinated
Mhm.
by the acting. What kind of venues are you trying to do film? Is that an aspirate or TV, or are you interested in theater?
I think the best next step for me is pursuing co-star roles in TV
Mhm. Mhm.
and being willing to jump on a train to New York City when necessary. And I think the first thing I need to do is get an agent
Mhm.
so that I can get access to these small roles.
Right.
And I think that's really what I need to do next.
Right.
Because as of now, I've built up some roles on my resumes from short film,
Mhm.
and I was actually in a feature, a small independent feature as well.
Excellent.
But, yeah, that's really what I need to do next.
Right. One of my professors showed us his reel one day in class, and maybe there were 8 snippets, and some of them were 4 seconds long. They
Mhm.
conveyed something. So, and I mention that because it's hard to get reels, and, you could be in something and, you know, you could have a lot of lines, you could have a lot of screen time, but you really just need to capture that line that shows you and your character and something personal being communicated to the viewer. So, good luck with
Yes.
that. There
Mhm.
are people that make a healthy living doing those co-starring roles.
Mhm.
There's a lot of them out there. Are you on Backstage and IMDb and all that good stuff?
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah, I that's where I got a lot of my, opportunities for short roles was off of Backstage. I
right,
mostly, I have an Actors Access profile and casting networks also, that kind of get you, the meatier types
right.
of roles.
Excellent. But you're committed to getting an agent.
Agent, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that would be definitely the game changer because
Okay.
it kind of opens up your access to all kinds of auditions that you don't get from self-submitting.
I am very impressed with all the tentacles you got
Oh,
out there and in a relatively short time. I mean, just since the pandemic. And it's the movers and the shakers here that make a difference. So congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us. Good
thank
luck.
you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Good luck moving into the future. And I've got a pretty good feeling we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
I hope so.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.